Now I'm going to talk about multiple function. Now multiple function is basically calling a function within a function. Now we're going to give you a quick example. I'm going to write the code here so then we can practice it later on, and we can also refresh our memory on what we've previously covered. So first thing we do a PHP tag. So this informs the web server that we are passing a PHP script, and then we write our code. So we want to create a function basically to show a number. So we're going to pass an argument which is $num, and like I said, we'd start the code block by these curly braces. So let's do it on a separate line so it's all clear. And basically what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new variable called new number, and that will basically call another function called make double, and that will take in a number. And like I said before, when we complete a statement we always remember the semicolon at the end. Now what we're going to do, all it's going to do is going to echo the value. So we're going to say the value is new number. Now we close the code block, and this is what we've done so far. We created a function called show number. It basically makes the number double by calling this function called make double, and then it basically adds that value into the new number variable. And all it does, it just says echo the value is new number. So whatever the number is that's been after the number's been doubled, it then assigns it and prints it out here. So have we finished yet? Not yet. We need to create another function called make double, which is the second function. Now as you can see here, we didn't create this function yet. We created this function, and yet we can call a function within a function. So it's not a sequential program. We don't necessarily need to create this function first for this program to work. We can create in any order, and once it's called, then PHP is smart enough to look for it in the actual script and find out where this function is being declared, and basically use it from that point onwards. So let's create another function called make double. So function make double, and make double takes in a variable num. Like I said, in functions we start with a curly brace, an open curly brace and a closed curly brace. I always put both of them in when I'm doing any sort of code blocks. And all that does, it returns the number. So the num plus, so all it does, it just basically does that. I could do it in a different way where I can actually say $num times 2, and that will do exactly the same. It will multiply it by 2. Well, just for simplicity, I'm gonna just use it as this. So it just adds a number to itself, and then it returns the value. So it returns that, and it returns it up here. In the next video I'm going to show you how to run this example, and then we can see the output once we assign a value in here. Now simply to call those functions and actually create the application to work, I'm going to do it, I'm going to embed the PHP in a HTML file. Although it's a PHP file, but within HTML tags. So that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, we'll start with HTML. So to make the HTML tags, we're going to do a head, title. If you're familiar with HTML, this should be fairly easy. If not, you're going to learn along some HTML as you're learning. Now I'm going to just write any title here. I'm going to call it PHP function, and I'm close the title, and that would, if you're not familiar with this would basically just print that at the top of the browser. So the title of the browser basically, and then we just close the head after that. Some generic HTML there, and now the body, and this is the actual center, the body of the browser, and we're just going to print here a message. So I'm going to use the h3 header title, and I'm going to embed some PHP in here. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do that, and I'm going to call the function called show number, and I'm going to pass a number. So let's pass number 2, and we'll close the PHP tags and the HTML h3 tag as well. We'll close that, and we finally close the body tag, and we close the HTML. Once we do that, it's going to basically pass number 2 to show number, and once it passes 2 to show number here takes that number and passes it on to a make double function, and once it does that, it comes to this function here, and this function takes that number and adds it to itself and then returns it back to the show number, which then assigns it into the new number. So we've got 2 goes in here, 2 plus 2 is 4, so 4 goes into the new number, and then finally it will echo the value is 4. So the result is 4. So that will be the output. What we're going to do now is we're going to practice this. We're going to write this code out in NetBeans and see it run, and we should get the value 4. And we can change this value to 4 and it would be 8. Okay, very simple example of functions.